Welcome to the deep dive. If you've ever looked at a drop of pond water under a microscope, you were probably looking at some of the true complexity masters of our planet.
Absolutely. Tiny, but incredibly sophisticated.
And today, we're plunging into that unseen world, about 90% of aquatic life, apparently. We're talking about the protists.
Right. And these aren't just, simple germs. The research notes you shared with me, they're basically a crash course in the biological foundation of complex life itself.
Wow.
So we're talking eukaryotes, single cell. That sort of paved the way for everything else, really.
So our mission today is pretty clear then. We need to synthesize this really dense source material you mentioned, get past the textbook stuff and give you the critical knowledge. How do these microscopic masters survive, thrive, and sometimes cause real problems?
Let's start with the basics from the research. What is a protist? Well, they're unicellular, mostly, and eukaryotic.
Eukaryotic meaning a true nucleus, proper internal machinery.
Exactly. Membrane-bound organelles, they're mostly heterotrophic too, meaning they eat organic stuff for energy. And yeah, the big one, 90% live in water. Aquatic organisms.
Sophisticated simplicity, you called it. I like that.
It fits, I think.
Okay, so if they're kind of the blueprint for complex life, let's unpack that blueprint. Let's go inside out. How does one cell do the job of a whole organism?
Right. So when you look at their structure, you immediately see this division of labor. Start with the goop inside the cytoplasm.
The goop, technical term.
Well, yeah. But your notes detail two parts, right? The outer, sort of firmer layer, the ectoplasm, and then the inner, more watery part, the endoplasm.
And that structure matters for shape and movement.
Definitely. And speaking of structure, their outer layer isn't just a simple membrane. Many, like ciliates, for example, have a reinforced layer. It's called the pellicle.
The pellicle.
Like a skin.
Sort of a specialized skin, yeah. Gives structural support, defense. It's kind of like flexible armor for a single cell.
Flexible armor. Okay, so tough on the outside. What's happening inside? The machinery. That's where the eukaryotic part really shines. The organelles. You've got the nucleus, obviously. That's the command center. Genetic info, running the metabolism, all that.
And ribosomes, the protein factories, we know those. Sometimes floating free, sometimes stuck on the ER.
Exactly. The endoplasmic reticulum, the ER. That's the internal transport system. The rough ER with the ribosomes makes proteins and forms the cell's membranes.
And the smooth ER.
That handles fats, lipids, and then, if the ER is the highway, the Golgi apparatus, well, that's like the post office or maybe quality control.
Okay, how so?
It takes from the ER, modifies it, packages it up, sends it where it needs to go. Targeted delivery.
Makes sense. And lysosomes are mentioned, too, for breaking things down.
Yep. Waste disposal and recycling center.
Now, here's something I found fascinating in the notes. An organelle that seems especially critical for these aquatic guys. The contractile vacuole.
Yes. That's a really key adaptation. It's not just a general storage vacuole like you might find in plant cells.
Right, it has a specific job.
A very specific job. Osmoregulation. Keeping the water balance right. See, many protists live in fresh water, which is hypotonic, meaning water constantly wants to flow into the cell.
Which could make them burst.
Exactly. So the contractile vacuole acts like a little pump. It collects excess water, chemicals, waste, and actively pumps it out of the cell.
Wow. So it's like their kidney and circulatory system rolled into one tiny bubble.
Pretty much. It's all about maintaining that internal balance. Incredible efficiency.
It really is. Managing pressure, food, waste, reproduction, all in one unit. Okay, so we've got this sophisticated blueprint. Now, where it gets really interesting for me is how this blueprint leads to such different ways of life. The notes group them by how they move and live. 4 main groups.
That's right. Let's start with the flagellates. Ichikofchi in the notes.
Flagellates.
Yeah.
Movement by flagella, those whip-like tails.
Yep, one or more flagella propelling them through the water.
But within that group.
Huge variety. Right.
Some are parasites.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like trypanosoma, purely heterotrophic, lives off its host. But then you have the related euglenids, krasnuchka. Think Euglena viridis.
Those are the green ones?
Often, yes. They have chloroplasts. They can photosynthesize. Talk about opportunists, eat stuff, or make your own food from sunlight.
So how do they find the light if they need it?
Good question. The notes point to a structure called the stigma. It's a light-sensitive eye spot.
An eye spot. In a single cell.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Allows them to swim towards light. Optimize that energy production.
We have to pause there, though, because the parasitic side is, well, it's serious. Trypanosoma causes African sleeping sickness, leishmaniasis. These single cells are major disease agents.
A stark reminder of their impact, definitely. Okay, shifting gears now. How about the wanderers, the amoeboids? Koshinonochi.
The shapeshifters. No fixed form.
Right, constantly changing, flowing. Their movement uses these temporary extensions of the cytoplasm, pseudopods.
Sauce feet. They literally ooze around.
Pretty much. And they use those pseudopods to eat too. They surround food particles and engulf them. It's a process called phagocytosis.
Like a microscopic Pac-Man.
Exactly like that.
Now, wait a second. If ciliates, which we'll get to, have that tough pellicle, and amoeboids are just blobs, why do the notes mention some amoeboids build shells, like radiolaria, foraminifera? Aren't shells, cumbersome?
It's a trade-off, isn't it? You lose some speed and flexibility compared to a naked amoeba, but you gain protection.
Protection from what? Predators. The environment.
Both. Those shells, or shranky as the notes call them, can be made of silica or calcium carbonate. Think foraminifera, their calcium carbonate shells are incredibly durable. They sacrifice speed for, geological permanence.
Geological permanence.
Yeah, huge amounts of deep-sea sediment, chalk cliffs even, are made from the shells of dead foraminifera, a single-celled decision with massive long-term impact.
Incredible. And, here we go again. A parasite.
Yep, Entamoeba histolytica. Causes amoebic dysentery, so this group shapes ocean floors and causes serious gut infections. Diversity.
Truly. Okay, group 3. The ciliates. Now, Nikki, you said they were structural heavyweights?
I did. They move using cilia, those short, hair-like projections, but not just a few, usually dense carpets of them.
Beating together, like tiny oars.
Exactly like oars. Coordinated movement, often very rapid. And they use cilia for feeding, too, creating water currents to bring food particles towards them.
And their internal setup is more complex, too, right? The notes mention a cell mouth and an anal pore.
That's right, Brniezhnosta and Zhitny pore. A defined entry point for food and exit point for waste. It's basically a flow-through digestive system in one cell. Really quite advanced.
But the craziest part for me was the nucleus situation. 2 nuclei.
Ah, yes, the nuclear duality. Very common in ciliates like Paramecium. They have a big macronucleus and one or more small micronuclei.
And they do different jobs.
Completely different. The macronucleus runs the cell day to day, metabolism, growth, all that housekeeping. The micronucleus, that's all about sex.
Sex. In a ciliate?
Well, genetic exchange, we'll get to reproduction later, but the micronucleus holds the genetic material that gets swapped during conjugation. It's a brilliant strategy. Keep the working genes separate from the ones you mix up for evolution.
Separate day-to-day operations from long-term genetic strategy. Clever. Okay, final group. The sporozoans, or apicomplexans. Vitrusovsky.
Yeah.
Defined by being parasites.
Obligate parasites, yes. And they have no way to move on their own.
No flagella, no cilia, no pseudopods, nothing.
Nothing. They are entirely dependent on getting into a host, often carried by body fluids or a vector.
So if they can't move, how do they survive and spread? Must be complex life cycles again.
Extremely complex. The notes highlight Plasmodium, the malaria parasite. It's the classic example. It needs multiple hosts to complete its cycle.
Right, like a mosquito and a human.
Exactly. It has stages in the mosquito's gut, then its salivary glands, then it gets injected into a human, goes to the liver, then the blood cells.
And inside the host, how does it multiply so fast? That was a specific term.
Schizogony. Esogeny. It's a form of asexual reproduction where the nucleus divides many, many times before the cell divides.
Ah, so one cell suddenly becomes dozens or hundreds.
Right. Rapid multiplication inside the host cells, like liver or red blood cells. That's what causes the massive release of parasites into the bloodstream and the cycles of fever and malaria. Their whole existence is this finely tuned parasitic strategy, exploiting the transport systems of other organisms.
Chillingly effective. Okay, so we've seen these 4 diverse groups, these masters of the single cell. How do they make more of themselves? Reproduction. 2 main ways mentioned.
Yep, asexual and sexual. Asexual is mostly about speed and numbers.
Like binary fission. Simple splitting in 2.
Exactly. Common in flagellates. Just double and divide. Fast population growth.
But then there's that schizogony again. That's asexual too, but more explosive.
Definitely more explosive. It's tailored for that parasitic lifestyle. One invader rapidly becomes an army inside the host. Critical when time is short.
Okay, and the sexual side. More about mixing things up.
Right. Genetic variation. The simplest form mentioned is copulation copulus. Just the fusion of 2 cells, 2 gametes, to make a new individual, a zygote.
Pretty standard. But then there's conjugation conjugates. You mentioned this with ciliates. The notes say it's the most complex.
It is, in a way, because it's not directly about making more individuals.
What's it about then?
Genetic exchange. 2 ciliates temporarily pair up, side by side. They swap copies of their micronuclei, that's the genetic library. Then they separate and go back to dividing asexually.
So the number of cilia doesn't change immediately.
Nope. But both individuals walk away genetically refreshed with new combinations of genes from their partner. It's a way to get variation, adapt to changing conditions without the risks of full fusion. Really sophisticated stuff.
Okay, let's try and synthesize this. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. So, and to recap quickly, protists. They're this foundational, hugely diverse group of eukaryotes, defined by that internal complexity specialized organelles like the contractile vacuole for water balance, sometimes a protective pellicle.
And they move in all sorts of ways: flagella, pseudopods, cilia.
Right. Their lifestyles range from making their own food via photosynthesis, like some euglenids, to being incredibly complex parasites like Plasmodium causing malaria.
And reproduction is just as varied. Fast asexual methods like fission and schizogony, and these sophisticated sexual processes like conjugation for genetic mixing.
That pretty much covers the core takeaways from the notes, I think.
It does. So as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive,
Yeah.
think about what we've seen. A single cell acting like a whole animal, essentially. Specialized systems for digestion, genetics, waste, defense. And remember, the notes point out that the basic building blocks, ribosomes, ER, cytoplasm, are shared between protist cells and animal cells. Which leads to this final thought. How much of the success of us multicellular animals is really just a scaled-up version, a massive cooperative effort, using the same sophisticated machinery pioneered by these microscopic masters?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Are we just colonies built on their blueprint?
Something to think about. They truly are the templates for life's complexity.